Did these NBA teams fix their biggest problems this offseason? NBA offseasons are problem-solving exercises. From championship chases to long-term tankers, every club has something it needs to correct to move closer to its ultimate goal. So, how did your team do with its specific pursuit? That's what we're about to tackle. Here, we'll identify the primary issue each club carried into the summer and assess whether it was adequately addressed or not. Alright, let's start with the Atlanta Hawks. Their biggest problem? Backing up Trae Young. When a talent like Young takes a seat, the offense will inevitably lose some zip. But Atlanta's attack has historically flatlined without him. Last season, when the Hawks had their deepest roster during Young's 3-year tenure, the offense fared 13.8 points worse per 100 possessions without him. The year prior, it was a 15.5 point swing in the wrong direction. Adding Lou Williams at last season's trade deadline helped, as did the subtraction of Rajon Rondo in the same swap. But this offseason could prove to be the real problem solver. Hawks fortified their backup floor general spot for now, and later by trading for veteran Delon Wright and drafting 20-year-old shot creator Sharif Cooper. Solved? Improved, if not outright fixed. Next up, the Boston Celtics. Their biggest problem? Playmaking. The 2020-21 Boston Celtics always felt like they were less than the sum of their individual parts. Their lack of a natural playmaker might have been to blame, as they dished out the 6th fewest assists per game and had the 5th fewest secondary assists. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown made big strides as table setters, but it isn't what they do best. The same goes for Kemba Walker, who has always flashed more for his scoring than distributing. Marcus Smart and Robert Williams III shined as passers, but they didn't have enough touches to make a major impact. Both had sub 19% usage rates. With Walker now out of the equation and Smart poised to take on a greater role, Boston could emerge with better ball movement. That rings doubly true if newcomer Dennis Schroeder makes as big of an impact with his passing as he does with his scoring. Solved? Not necessarily, but should be better. Next up, the Brooklyn Nets. Their biggest problem? Getting stops. Last season, the Nets led the NBA with a 117.3 offensive efficiency, but they were only 7th in net rating due to a defense that ranked 22nd overall and was 2nd worst among playoff participants. Surely that sent the Nets scrambling for stoppers this summer, right? Wrong. Their two most significant offseason additions, Patty Mills and rookie first-rounder Cameron Thomas, both lean heavily toward offense. It's all part of the Nets' gamble that their defense doesn't need to be great, or even good, to capture the crown. With Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving on the same roster, the Nets are willing to wager that no one has the firepower to outscore them 4 times in a 7-game series. If Brooklyn's stars are healthy, they're probably right. Solved? They didn't even try. Next up, the Golden State Warriors. Their biggest problem? Competing timelines. The Golden State Warriors want to have their cake, eat it, and keep the plate and cutlery too. In other words, they want to simultaneously compete for a championship with Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, and build for a later title run with James Wiseman, Jonathan Kuminga, and Moses Moody. When you can do both of those things at once, it's magic, Warriors co-executive chairman and CEO Joe Lacob told The Athletic's Anthony Slater. There's just one problem. Magic isn't real. Golden State wants to stay light years ahead by focusing on the present and future, but that might only mean it isn't fully focused on either one. To make another title run with Curry, Green, and Thompson, the Warriors will need their young players to obliterate all realistic expectations or, more likely, to be shipped out for win-now talent that gives this roster a clear, consistent timeline. Solved? No, it's worse than before. Next up, the Los Angeles Lakers. Biggest problem? Half-court offense. In 2019 to 2020, the Lakers had the NBA's 11th best offense. Last season, they torpedoed down to the 24th. What changed? For starters, LeBron James and Anthony Davis encountered a lot more injury issues, which presents obvious and enormous problems. But also, the Lakers couldn't generate as many easy looks. 2 seasons back, they averaged the 2nd most points in transition and the 2nd most points in the paint. Last season, those rankings slipped to 11th and 7th respectively, and represented a loss of 8 points per game, 71.2 to 63.2. Russell Westbrook should help get that production back. He averaged the 3rd most points in transition last season and 7th most drives. His full throttle approach should give this experienced roster some extra pep, and he'll speed his way into some easy wins off determination and relentless aloneness. Now, could things get gummed up when the attack lanes aren't open and Westbrook's shooting limitations spoil the spacing? No question. But the Lakers might have enough support spacers to balance the offensive end, and Westbrook, James, and Davis all have the intelligence and skills to squeeze through tight windows. Solved? It's possible. Well guys, thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. Be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to Sport Utopia, and ring that notification bell so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching.